Welcome everyone to NCVLI's RISE, Rights in Action, the difference a lawyer can make. This is a live series to create awareness of victims' rights, to highlight the legal work of our RISE clinics, and to discuss how NCVLI supports attorneys across the country as they fight for victims to ensure that they have a voice in justice. My name is Jennifer Storm. I am your host. I am a consultant with NCVLI. We have been here live the third Wednesday of every month, talking with our legal partners from across the country, really just highlighting the great work that they're engaging in around elevating, enforcing, and activating victims' rights. So a lot of folks don't know, but the National Crime Victim Law Institute fields thousands of technical assistance requests annually. And we really strongly encourage individuals to reach out to us, whether you've ever had a relationship with NCVLI or not. If you're working with crime victims and you have a scenario or a challenge or a concern relating to the enforcement of that victim's rights, please know that NCVLI is a valuable resource. It's free. We're funded by grant funding through the Office of Victims of Crime and the Office of Violence Against Women. The work that we can provide to you is free and at no cost to you. So this month, I'm really excited because we have Jain Walsh from the Montana Legal Services Association. Welcome, Jain. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be here.
Thanks for having me, Jennifer.
Absolutely. So you have been a part of the initiative that NCVLI has engaged in. Tell us a little bit about your specific legal representation, because every clinic is different. And why is this so important that victims have legal representation in the criminal realm?
Sure. So our organization is probably best known for the civil legal services we provide, but our RISE clinic is specific to representing victims in criminal proceedings. We like to think about it in our clinic as making sure that victims are safe, heard, and whole. And what that means to us in terms of safety is not just their physical safety, but also the safety of their personal information and their privacy. So some of the work that we do around that is making sure that if a victim wants to proceed with a pseudonym, they can do that. Or if a victim has had requests for private information, or if we need to quash a subpoena about private information, that's something that we do to make sure that victims are safe. In terms of making sure that victims are heard, a lot of what we do is just ensure that victims can participate in the process. That means providing them with information, access to their own information, and making sure that they can confer with prosecutors, be able to provide victim impact statements. This is probably the most meaningful work we do because it really helps victims feel like they are part of the process and not just somebody who is on the outside looking in. And then in terms of being whole, we advocate for victims to get good restitution claims. That's something I think where a lawyer does make a big difference. Victims have a hard time getting that information together and the arguments together, and maybe some of those more creative arguments for things such as future expenses or educational expenses. So we work really hard to make sure that victims can be as whole as possible.
I love that. Seen, heard, and whole. That is amazing. So understanding and appreciating that confidentiality plays a significant role in all of the work that you do. Can you tell us a little bit about a recent case or a situation around victims' rights that you helped navigate recently for a client?
Sure. So something that's not uncommon for us to help people with is getting access to confidential criminal justice information. And recently I had to file a suit to obtain investigative materials and law enforcement materials for a 15-year-old victim of sexual assault. It was really important for her to understand what had been looked into, what had been done to investigate her case, and why prosecution had come to the decision not to charge the offender. And I think that was really something that she couldn't navigate by herself, especially as, a minor. It's really hard for any victim to try to come up against authority. And if that authority is saying, no, you can't have access to this, it's very helpful to have someone who's got the power of the law behind them to say, yes, I can.
No, it's interesting. We know about defendants' rights, and we know how most times they're very automatic, and that right to discovery and that right to have that information, it's a no-brainer for defendants. But when we think of victims, when victims are thrust into the system, they just assume they have that same access, or sometimes have no idea what that access is. And I agree, it's so much more beneficial to have a lawyer to be able to walk them through that. So when you think about something like that, right? How different do you think it would have been for that particular survivor? Especially, I mean, you mentioned obviously one barrier, being a minor. If you weren't there, if the RISE clinic wasn't there, would they have been able to get access to these records without you?
No, she had tried on her own. So I don't think she would have been able to get access to the records. And in this case, I had tried to go through the formal process that we have to get the information from the county attorney's office. And I wasn't able myself to do it just through that formal process. And so we did have to file a suit and get a court order to get the information. And that is not something that victim would have been able to navigate.
So how was NCVLI helpful in this instance? Were there legal resources that you used? What were you able to get from NCVLI? And by the way of technical assistance?
Yeah, so I frequently am looking at the NAVRA site. In this particular case, I, had just a ton of great case summaries from other areas that I could look at and reference. There was an amici brief that had already been written, so it was pretty easy to take some of those pieces and paste them all together in a way that incorporated our local law and not have to reinvent the wheel.
So you brought up NAVRA. For those of you that may not know, NAVRA is our National Association of Victims' Rights Attorneys and Advocates, and it is this incredible website at navra.org, and I will put that in the chat. But it is, if you are a basic member or there's an enhanced membership, you actually have the ability to go into this incredibly dense, searchable database that is, I think, way better than Westlaw, because it really allows you to very quickly access case pleadings and summaries and information specific to victims' rights. So I'm excited that it worked for you. Would you recommend, this might be a no-brainer, would you recommend other individuals to reach out to NCVLI and to reach out to clinics such as yours to get involved and to help elevate their own rights?
Absolutely. It's probably the best thing is just being able to have somebody to bounce ideas off of. This area of law is, it's been around for a while, but it's still pretty new in terms of developing case law and developing arguments, and being able to talk to somebody else who is an expert in that field is incredibly valuable.
Well, thank you. And so you're in Montana. Where can folks find you? What's your geographical served region? Are you on all the social places? Like, how does an individual get connected with the great work that you're doing in Montana?
Sure. So Montana Legal Services Association is a statewide organization. So we serve the entire state of Montana. Our RISE clinic is part of the organization. And so if somebody is looking for help, they can apply through Montana Legal Services Association on our website. If you're looking for information specific to crime victims, crime victim rights, we have a whole separate website, mtcrimevictimhelp.org. And Montana Legal Services Association is on Instagram and Facebook. So we're around and we're always happy to help out.
And your services are free and confidential, correct?
Absolutely.
the beauty of this. So, truly no reason not to reach out and just see if there's the availability of services there. Well, thank you so much, Jane, for taking time out of your busy day. I know you have tons of cases to get to, and we really value not only your time today, but more importantly, the dedication and time that you all commit to crime victims, for that young girl, for helping her and getting her access to that information, because it's not just about the information. That's a puzzle piece for that person's overall healing. And that's what justice is supposed to look like, right? Meaningful engagement. So thank you for being a part of that. For those of you out there, we will be back here next month. We are going to South Carolina virtually next month to learn a little bit about the clinic there. But until then, please learn a little bit more about the National Crime Victim Law Institute at our website at ncvli.org. Also, next week, 1 week from today, is our fundraising, our annual fundraising event. We are doing it virtually this year. So we will be live in an incredible virtual environment with amazing entertainment and keynote speakers and inspirational information about the good work that NCVLI does. That is called Voices for Justice. It is September 22nd. You can find more information on our Facebook page. Until next week, next month, thank you so much, and be safe. Thank you.